Hello and welcome to Overcome a Mental Health Podcast, a place for you to share your stories. I'm so excited for tonight's guest. We are speaking with Amita Sharma. Uh, Amita, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Amita,
Thank you so much, Travis. Yeah.
yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. Amita is a co-founder of NourishDoc, a holistic wellness platform, and she is here to tell us about her journey. I'm just going to have the time over to her and have her share with us her story.
Yeah, no, I like you focusing on the mental health issue and also in the society, we have sort of normalized this whole mental health. It's okay to have mental health issues, right? It's acceptable to take to do therapy. But what I think is that most of the mental health is geared towards younger, right? Younger, maybe teenagers. Most of the time we talk about younger people who are having mental health issues and or maybe seniors. But what my focus is on a journey of a mid-age, specifically mid-age woman in this case, also mid-age men. And the focus is on a mid-age woman who's going through perimenopause, menopause. And 50% of them are having anxiety and mental health issues that they are too scared, but they're silent about their struggles or they're silent about this whole journey that they're going through for fear of being judged in a way, because at that time they're probably moms, wives, whatever, right? So I want to bring this whole topic out, the mental health issue specifically for mid-aged women and why this happens, how this happens, and how it can impact our society, and what can we do about it, right? That's really what I wanted to talk about. I'd like to get your feedback before I say something.
No, no, that's totally fine. I like this direction.
Okay. So, I can start with a little bit of my journey. It's not that I developed mental health issues when I started perimenopause. I had mental health issues earlier as well. Typically, most of the women who have more mental health issues have had some kind of a history of childhood trauma or childhood, other experiences during the teenage years. And I think I had that too during growing up in a country where women were a bit subservient, and I wanted to do something with my life and so many other things, the cultural part, the family part. I went through my own teenage trauma, my own teenage mental health issues of a lot of different things. I should say that family issues, all those things, right? That happened in I think starting in I would say it started in teenage years. Typically, that's what we see here also starting. And I never expressed that I was having mental health issues because at that time in my, now it's okay to talk about mental health issues, but at that time, it was not okay to talk about that you having mental health issues because it was considered that, something is wrong with you. You cannot talk about how you were feeling. And that's exactly what happened. So bottom line is I suppressed that there's a suppression of feelings that happened during this whole year of growing up, years of teenage. And it went on and on until I hit perimenopause. I never expressed my feelings. I never expressed myself, how I was feeling. I was always trying to please others. I was like too eager to please others and never thinking about how it's going to impact me as a self person. So during this whole conflict of emotions that always used to happen in my mind, in my head and everything, would result into this whole disturbance of my hormonal imbalance, which I am not agreeing, but I'm doing it, right? If you can imagine. So this whole continued in started in my teens, went into my 20s. In my 20s, again, there was a lot of family issues that I had a lot of mental health issues to a point that I actually needed therapy. And therapy was not something that was very common, common
Mhm.
back. It has become common now, but not at that time. So the perimenopause, when it hits, it all bubbled up. Everything just kind of bubble, and exploded to a point. What happened is that in perimenopause, and I never quite understood that me being a meek person, me being a sort of like a mellow person, how come everything is bubbling up and I'm talking like Jim, that movie, Who Could Not Lie, the Jim
Mhm.
Carrey, he said, oh, I can't lie. Oh my God, the words are coming out of my mouth. I can't do anything, right? So I literally became that person. Words are coming out of my mouth. and I don't know what to do. It was so bizarre. And what was happening was so I started learning about the science of why it is happening to me and why I'm getting these strange, almost to a depression kind of a mode where I'm having very dark thoughts. I cannot control the anxiety. Wake up in the morning. Sometimes I can't wake up in the mornings. I have anxiety issues all the time because of my anxiety. I have gut health issues. So it was sort of like a cycle that's going on, and I'm never going to get out of that. So what was happening was that my hormonal balance got disturbed when I started getting into this perimenopause journey. And that's what happens to millions and millions of women every year when they start their perimenopause journey. When the hormonal imbalance starts happening to me, whatever mental health issues I was suppressing, right, earlier for the last 2 decades or more when I turned around 40s, that all started bubbling up because I was not digesting my emotions, right? And now suddenly I'm having, hot flashes sitting in the meetings and public places. And because of hot flashes, now I'm getting more anxiety issues. And now I'm not able to concentrate at work, at my workplace. I come home, I start having night sweats, and I'm kind of like a completely confused, muddled up person, if you can imagine. Total nervous wreck, not confident, having a very low self-esteem because I'm not able to focus, at workplace, and with the fear of that, oh, they're going to let me go, they're going to fire me, and I was laid off like 3, 4 times, 5 times, I don't know, I don't even remember, so many places because I did not realize at the time that due to my this perimenopause journey, the hormonal imbalance, I'm not able to do my work properly, and then the anxiety kicks in, and I'm not able to work, and I'm getting my kicked off from work. That's kind of how it started happening to me. Does that sound like you've heard this story before from someone,
Yeah,
or
that sounds, yeah, that's, and sometimes I feel like with mental health, like as an individual, I struggle really bad with anxiety and depression.
okay?
And it takes a while to actually realize what is going on with yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not something that like, and it's like, and it's not until you fully admit that you have a problem that you're actually willing to go and get the help. And
Yeah, exactly. You think you look normal, like I'm looking normal to you right now, right? And you look perfectly normal to me, but nobody can tell behind this facade
yeah.
that what's happening in the head, right?
And did you ever feel like these days that, you're sitting in meetings and going through all this anxiety that you just had to fake it to get through the day?
Because what can you? Because at that time, if you're not, how should I say, if you're not strong enough, right? The word is strong. If you're not strong enough to admit that something is going wrong with you, and you're not seeking help, now how do you put up a strong front to make sure that everybody thinks that you're normal? Because and also you need your work, your job, right? So you need to put a facade that you are strong and you are able to do the work that you've been hired to do, right?
Yeah.
So that's important because otherwise, people, from a professionalism, you need to kind of make sure that you present yourself as a sort of like a put together person, not falling apart kind of a cookie crumble person here, right? And that's what inside I was, a cookie crumble person, crumbling like a cookie, not
Yeah.
able to put myself together. And I did not know where to go for help. And that was the biggest problem. And if I had known that my hormones have started fluctuating because I'm entering this phase of perimenopause. And the really strange thing is during the day the hormones fluctuate so much that you don't even know what is the norm for any woman. And 50% of the women during going through this phase are having anxiety issues, depression issues, and also suicidal thoughts. In fact, what has happened just like 2 days back in UK, there's a woman, she was, I think, 56 years old. She was admitted in some kind of a facility for mental health issues, and she committed suicide. It's just 2 days back. So it's like it's in all over UK right now.
Yeah. Why do you think the mental health issues or mental health effects of perimenopause are often overlooked or misunderstood?
Because, see, Okay, so first of all, we don't even pay attention to women beyond the reproductive years all over the world. It has nothing to do with United States or any country for that matter. Generally, as a society, all over the world, women are generally, you get your kids and that's it. All right. That is, and thankfully we pay attention to reproduction now, the fertility part, the pregnancy, taking care of that. So most of the communities or most of the culture are focused on the fertility of a woman. And after the fertility, uh, we don't even pay attention to the perimenopause. Menopause, people associate menopause as, oh, you're old, right? You're not no longer young. So, okay, now you're going to have, anyway, you're getting old, so you're going to have a disease or chronic condition. So it's all kind of, it's the mindset of the society all over the world, and underfunded, under researched, this whole phase of a woman's life. It's not well understood even by the medical fraternity. It's not even taught in the medical schools. Perimenopause, menopause is taught only for 8 hours. And this came actually in on NBC by an OBGYN. She herself admitted that this is not being taught. So now, if you look at the source, you're not teaching the experts about some topic. How the heck it's going to filter to a common person like me, or any of the
Hmm.
women? Because at that age, I'm not in college. I'm at home. I'm taking care of my kids or whatever, and the only place I'm going to seek help is either through my through the medical system or through workplace, right? Both of these places in the medical system, they're not taught. In the workplace, it's sort of like, oh my God, you're going to get judged. So where do you go for help? That's the thing. And now you feel so secluded, isolated. On top of that, the other thing that happens to mental health is the reason, because loss of libido is one of the other symptoms that happens to a lot of women. Now, that can impact your relationship with your spouse or partner. Now, that also can add the mental health aggravate the whole mental health issue, right? It's not just only the mental health of other things, but there are your relationships with your partners can also exacerbate the whole mental health issue, right? Not just one thing that's happening is what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course. And how did you, when you were going through or
Yeah,
as you've gone through all these issues and stuff like mental health and
yeah.
perimenopause, how did you manage like balancing your career and family
Mhm.
responsibilities and every other thing in life? How did you go about doing that?
It's tough. It's tough for all the women, because at that point of your life, you're 40 something, most of the women are at the peak of their careers because they have worked for almost 20 years approximately. They're at a point, they are like at their, they're experienced, and they probably have a couple of kids. I mean, I that was my story too. And how do you balance it all? It's very, very tough, because you're running between your work, your home, taking care of your family, your kids, and all, and your other things. So the only way learned how to balance is actually incorporating holistic therapies, right? I started going into some yoga, some meditation, some Ayurvedic massage therapies, fixing my diet, trying to get some me time, and trying to cut down on my social time, because earlier you would end up spending almost on Saturday and Sunday, half a day for socializing friends and stuff like that. It's not that I completely stopped, but I needed to cut that time down to make time for myself, for taking care of myself. So it was just a lot of maneuvering of the time management that I had to do, to take some time out for me time for myself, so that I don't fall apart. And if I fall apart, the whole family falls apart, right? That's what happens to most of the women. If they fall apart, the family falls apart. 60% of the women go through divorce, by the way.
That's very true. If the woman falls apart, the family falls apart. My wife is the glue that keeps us running.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that I don't have my spot, but she's the main
Yeah.
reason that the household keeps going. And what it comes to perimenopause and mental health mixed together, what do you think the
Yeah.
biggest stigma is with the two of them?
Both have stigma, I'll tell you that, right? Because now the women are kind of they don't talk about they're going through perimenopause. It's just the mindset, oh, I'm getting old. It's one of those things, right? Women don't like being told that they're getting old, right? So it's one of those, oh my God, now. So, and the mental health, it's a stigma attached to both of them. And that's why you need to normalize these discussions. If we start talking as a society, it's okay. Well, it's normal. Perimenopause is normal. Every single woman is going to go through perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. Every single woman might not get pregnant, right? Think about it. But, that is a fact. So it's a stage of her life, a woman's stage of life that she's going to go through it. And we don't even, as a society, don't have the resources, right? We don't have the right medical help or, any kind of expertise help, or I should say that, not necessarily medical help, but expert help. And we don't even want to talk about that in the at home or anything to make sure that we give enough support to our moms or to our not daughters actually, to our moms or to our sisters and to our wives, right? From a guy's perspective. So it's like how we support the young girls when they're starting their menarche, the menstrual cycle begins. We give them support the same way that same support in a different way has to be given to the woman when she's finishing her menstrual cycle. And that is a journey of finishing her menstrual cycle now. Not that it has to be celebrated with a party or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But at least with this right kind of resources, right kind of support. And that needs to come when we normalize this discussion.
And as having a wife, how do I go about supporting her through perimenopause?
Yeah, so so there are actually some of the myths, right, about perimenopause. A woman can start perimenopause in her mid 30s or late 30s. It's not necessarily in 40s anymore. The whole thing has shifted. So the fact that you're interviewing me is supporting your wife or partner because you're trying to understand what a woman could go through. So for men, at least having a basic understanding of what their partners or their wives will go through and trying to support them in a way. And if she's having a problem that cannot be fixed by self-care, for example, seeking help, seeking the right type of help is important. Not that you can do everything yourself. I tried to do everything by myself, which was a big mistake. I suffered through it in silence. And then in 3 years back, when I was talking to so many holistic experts, I said, no, this has to come out. So the support can be from community, from a husband point of view, just understanding the overall complexity of this topic, what it can do to a woman, helping her clean up the diet, making the movement, all these things, making some lifestyle modification. Maybe you can start with making lifestyle modification or dietary modification so that both of you are doing it together so that she doesn't feel isolated, right? Because otherwise she's the one who's vegan or vegetarian or whatever, she wants, or cutting down red meat as an example, and you are having a beefy, juicy steak. So now it becomes difficult. So maybe some things could be done together as couple so that it seems like a togetherness of a couple kind of a thing rather than, oh, now you can't have this, so I'm going to have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we've already got the diet part pretty much figured out. I went through a slew of health problems, and so we cut back on like sugars, and we don't eat totally gluten free, but we do eat a lot of gluten free stuff. And so that happened at the end of last year, and now she's having a couple health problems of her own. So she's like, "I think you just prepared me to change my diet before I really had to get told to change it." I was like, "Maybe, but maybe." Maybe I wasn't the only one that was supposed to go through some health situations. Like maybe
Some,
you've been taking care of me for years, so maybe it's my turn to take care of you.
but is it women problems or just general
No,
health other problems?
no, it's just um, a few mental health problems, and she just got diagnosed with some thyroid problems.
Okay. The other thing, the mental health problems can also be solved by keeping our gut health. Gut health and mental health are very well connected, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Right. So there's a vagus nerve. So what I did to take care of my mental health issues, I'll tell you that I cleaned up I loaded up on prebiotic, probiotic. I made sure my gut health is super like clean in the sense like I'm eating the right kind of food. to feed my gut microbiome. All those things become very important, right?
Yeah, and we've started taking supplements and cleaning up and eating better. And last year, like I never realized like how much the body and the mind like work together. Like you don't
Hmm.
for
Yeah,
so long. Like I felt like I was taught that like there's kind of separate, just because
yeah,
our society puts a band-aid on everything. It's like no, if
correct.
you look at the body as a whole, your mental health is gonna start getting better.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. We are taught in a regular Western medicine that compartmentalizing, like for
Hmm.
mental health doctor, the gut health doctor, this doctor, that doctor. But if you just fix your diet and you are just actually doing bowel movements every day, proper bowel movements, your mental health also automatically starts improving, your metabolism starts improving. That's what happens to me. I started because earlier I used to get very bloated, right here I would think that, oh my God, I'm putting on a lot of weight and all those things, and my gut health wasn't regular. So I started fixing it slowly and slowly. The other thing is the cleanse. I went on a lot of cleansing diets, like a khichdi diet or some of the simple mono diet for a few days to clean my diet, to cleanse my system, like make it like really, how you have a palate cleanser and then you have the other, the next course, right? So
Hmm.
it was sort of like cleansing inside. And I did a lot of that as well to cleanse my diet.
Back a few minutes ago, you mentioned like normalizing perimenopause. How do we go about normalizing?
So when use the word, it's like, talking about offering, like even at workplaces, there should be some resources as an example, because at this age, most of us are working now. That is our community, sort of like a 9 to 5, and we are spending so much of our time over there. So I think the workplaces need to incorporate some kind of resources to help women who are going through perimenopause. That is not there yet, right?
Hmm.
UK has picked up, but US is still so far behind. Maybe the big companies, 2 or 3 companies are doing something, but it's not like a standardized when 50% of our workforce is women nowadays, right? So that's
Hmm.
what I mean by normalizing. And even in community or even in some of the faith organizations like at churches or temples, there could be some kind of a simple educational series that, that could be given to the community, women who are going through that, their spouses or partners can understand what they're going through and how it works. So wherever the community congregates, the congregation is happening. That's where most of the time it's happening during at this age for us is either the community, we are part of a faith community, or we're part of a work, or we are part of some friend circle. And so wherever the community is, maybe there could be some kind of a simple educational series or simple things that are made available so that people who are interested can learn about it and how to support their partners, right? That's what I mean. And it should not be like, oh my God, I can't talk about my wife or me in going through perimenopause, menopause. It should be like it's okay if you, because everybody's going to get at that age one day or another. It should not be regarded as, oh my God, now I can't talk about it, right? We regard like that. We say, oh, we don't talk about these things, although we talk about so many other things, but we just go hush when these kind of topics come, right?
Yeah, a lot of times we do. It's like you said, it's a huge problem with society, and I
Yeah.
feel like the mental health space is just barely getting to that point where we're talking about it more. And I still do think that we could probably do a lot more in that space as well. But it's like you said, just having spaces to talk about it within the community.
Yeah. Mental health thing started about a decade back, right?
Hmm.
Nobody wanted to talk about mental health 10 years back. You talk to anyone and be like, what are you talking about? But slowly, slowly, startups started coming up and people started talking about, I have mental health issues. It's perfectly normal now. People say, hey, I have mental health issues. Nobody judges you if you say that. And the same thing is if someone's going through a natural phase of a woman's phase in her life, this is truly a natural thing, that's a
Hmm.
phase. And if someone said, hey, I'm going through perimenopause, and that overall we shouldn't say, oh my God, it should be okay, well, this is what you can do, this resource, that resource, or that resource. The communication should be more supportive is what I'm saying, rather than
Yeah.
The woman should feel, oh no, I can't talk about it. I need to look all the time like a superwoman and act like everything is under control behind a mask. We're always wearing a mask. The mask needs to come out, and you have to be yourself, the real yourself, right? That's
Hmm.
what I mean when normalizing.
And so when, a woman starts going through perimenopause and starts feeling the hormones are changing and emotions are all over the place, where do you send them to like get help and start like being able to balance everything out?
So there is a lot of things women can do. The self care is, of course, the first thing that women should understand. Then the testing is another one that they should try to see and where the things are all out of balance in the body. But typically, naturopathic doctors or holistic medicine doctors, integrative medicine doctors, if they need to go there. Otherwise, a normal woman going through this can manage it through self-care. But if she cannot, all the things that I talked about, that she cannot, she's still having all these issues, then it's better to see a specialist who understands menopause, right? There are very few specialists who understand that. And the typical ones who understand without the HRT is integrative medicine doctors or naturopathic doctors. They're the ones who have been trained to help you, give you a source, fix your sort of like a put together holistic plan, keeping the mind and the body all in one place rather than giving you one medicine that would fix you, right? Typically. Now, the other thing that women can also do is, if they want, they can also seek hormone replacement therapy. What that means is hormones that are depleting as women are aging. A medical doctor or someone who's experienced in the hormone replacement therapy can help you get your hormones, basically injected in the sense there are different ways of taking the hormones that might not work for everyone. So there are a lot of options that women have, but the problem is most of the women don't even understand these options, right? They don't even know these options exist, and they are like, either they'll just go get nervous and say, "Oh, I want hormone replacement therapy. Oh, I want this." So that there has to be a systematic way where women understand first what is happening in their body and then identify what is happening to them, right? What is happening to their body, because every woman is different, right? Once you have an understanding, then you say, okay, if the self-care is not working, maybe I need a testing or the next expertise. Then you go over there to the right expertise to get yourself, taken care of.
Yeah, and I think you hit it right there. The key thing that you said to me that stood out was recognize what's going on with your body. And I think sometimes that's like the hardest
Hmm.
thing to do is to
Hmm.
recognize, like, no matter what it is, it's like sometimes hard to sit back and, make you're having a problem or actually really know what the problem is because there's so many things it could be.
Yeah, because and we ignore the symptoms, right? We as human beings, and it doesn't matter women or men, both I think a human nature that we keep ignoring the symptoms, or our body will tell you, our mind will tell you if you're not feeling well. But we say, no, 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 no. We ignore it. And what I'm saying is not to ignore this phase of a woman's life, because it's very important. If we don't take care of ourselves, the chances of us getting a chronic condition as we get older beyond 55, 60, they are so high because 80% of the women have chronic conditions in this country. And you don't want to be going there, right? So that's why I am pitching this perimenopause, because now it happens to younger women, and younger women can make a change now, because by the time you're 60, it might be too late. You don't know, because you already have a chronic condition. Now you're trying to fix one thing and the other thing goes wrong, right?
Hmm.
That's what starts happening.
Back to, I think it was towards the first of when we started speaking, you said that um, women are starting to experience perimenopause in like earlier than they used to.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
So I'm not a medical doctor. What I'm sharing is all the research, right, that I have gone through and
Hmm.
talking to about 3,000 different holistic experts from all over the world. There are a number of factors that have been researchers have associated this whole trend of even young girls getting their periods earlier than the age 13. Like you see 8 or 9 year old girls getting their periods. So a lot of things they talk about is the stress and also the toxins in the environment, toxins, pesticides, additives in our food supply, plastics, all these what they call as endocrine disruptors. And that is what they are associating this whole industrialization of how we've changed our food supply by adding all kind of God knows what insecticides and pesticides, and that have gone inside a woman's body and mess with the hormones inside. You don't know which direction that's going to go, and that's one of the things that's happening. Now the other thing that's happening is a pregnant woman, when she gives a birth to a newborn baby, there are so many toxins in today's day and age in her placenta. They've done the test. So many tests have been done. There are over 170 toxins in the placenta. And the babies are being born, they're being born with so much toxicity inside. So a woman, a pregnant woman or a woman at that time has so much toxins inside her body, she needs to cleanse. And that's what's happening with all those combined factors of all the things, the toxins that we inhale, the toxins we consume in our food supply, our plastics, our cookware, all kind of things, our makeup, our hair, all things. We are inhaling all these things.
And based on your experience, what are some of the most surprising emotional and psychological changes you experienced during that
So
phase?
me personally, like I said, I was pretty calm. I'm actually generally a calm person, and I think one of the most different things that I personally experienced was my erratic mood swings. I myself could not control. I just could not control myself. Like suddenly I've never gotten angry. I never barely get angry. And suddenly I had this rage. I have no idea where it was coming from. And I'm so full of anger that it was coming and kind of spewing out. And maybe I tried to kind of internalize as to why it was happening to me. And maybe it was all those pent up feelings that I probably had as a child or as a teenager and never kind of brought it up, because it was not cool to see a mental health therapist or any therapist for that matter. And then this whole rage of uncontrolled burst of rage suddenly came up. It used to come up when I was going through perimenopause journey. That was something that I was very surprised, that it was coming from me because, like I said, I'm generally a very calm person, and here I was. I couldn't even recognize myself. I should say that.
Yeah, I've had some of those moments myself where it's like rage or just like unwanted feelings. And it's like, where is this coming from? Why am I experiencing this? And those moments are often pretty nerve wracking and actually very damaging to your self esteem as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to just think about how you're feeling, and you almost. So I, what I started doing was actually I started documenting my feelings. To be honest with you, on a daily basis, because there was no other way for me to help. And so I started writing about, or in a journaling about some of the feelings that I thought were so weird. And that has helped me. And then the little bit of meditation and some yoga and some exercise, and also those kind of things have helped me a lot.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about journaling. I've never really tried it myself. For me, I think I do these little methods where it's like simple things like I count to 10 or I walk away from the room if it's something like that's going on like in my environment. I'll walk away for a minute just to reset myself. And sometimes it's only like 30 seconds that I need, and I can go back into that room with a fresh mind and be like, you know what, I can handle this really like a lot better now. I think the hardest part for me was learning how to subconsciously like pay attention and subconsciously know that there was something going on in my mind and
Yeah.
how that I was going to react in a bad
Yeah.
negative way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think it can actually, the self-esteem part is a lot of work to work on, in the sense like, um, I had to tell myself, I had to kind of motivate myself, right, on a daily basis. How do I do that? That I have to just compose myself, right, so that I present myself in a way that I don't come across as having, mental health issues or any other issues, right? Because it's important. You don't want people to judge you because now they label you as, oh, this person is having some whatever, and that can be detrimental to at workplace and for your all well-being, right?
Hmm. And it's really hard to come over the not wanting people to judge you part, because
Yeah,
when I first started going to therapy and admitted that I had issues and had to take some medication for some stuff, that was my biggest fear, was getting judged.
yeah, me too. I think that's the biggest fear I've had since I was a child, that I did not want people to judge me as, I wanted them to hold me in a high esteem. And that's what you try to please others all the time. When trying to
Hmm.
please others, you don't please yourself because you're trying to always have this conflict of who you are and what you're trying to show other people, and not admit that you have a problem. That itself is a problem,
Hmm.
right?
Of course.
Yeah.
And it's kind of goes back to what you said too earlier on, is you got to find time for yourself. And I think that's like really important to overcome mental health issues. I'd love for you to share more about. So when I introduced you, you are the co-founder of, or founder of NourishDoc. I would love for you to share more about what that is.
Yeah, so I shared my journey of mental health issues as well as going through the perimenopause. And I wanted to create a resource for women, younger as well as older women, to understand what this fourth stage of her life is and what can they do to help themselves, right? So Nourish Talk is literally a holistic platform that takes into account your mind and body to help women, mid-aged women, starting their journey from perimenopause all the way to postmenopause. And what we have is self-care programs, which we are going to price it less than $5 a month, so that it would be available via an app or via on the desktop. So they can say, okay, I'm going through mental health or not serious issues. Okay, see, that can be self done with self-care. And then the system will guide them through if you should change your diet or lifestyle or all the things we talked about. So all in all, we have about 20, 25 different programs that are self-care. And then after that, or during that whole process, a person feels like, no, I need more help. Then we have unvetted experts, anywhere from movement to naturopathy to hypnotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, aromatherapy, you name it, diet, nutrition, that one can go in for one-on-one consultation or personalized plans. So the whole idea is to present a comprehensive approach and break this whole mental health. Mental health is okay. So we have therapists that can help you either in a group setting or in a one-on-one setting or a self-care setting, and present this whole thing starting in a super affordable way. We know that nowadays affordability is the key. Every single day we're looking at price of eggs, right? So this $5 a month is like a no-brainer, and then it kind of goes up as for your needs and as for your personalized needs, I should say that.
I love it. I love the holistic approach to the app,
Mhm. Yeah.
because learning more about holistic like medicine route in the last year, I find it like really important to know, because
Yes.
there's a lot of things that the holistic side of medicine does that your
Yeah.
normal Western medicine doctor is not going to do.
Yeah.
And
And there's a place for everything.
exactly what I was going
Medicine,
to say.
right? Yeah.
Exactly what I was going to say. You took the words out of my mouth. Because I want listeners to know that there is a place for Western medicine.
Mhm.
Where can people find more on you? Like, do you have a website? Any
Mhm.
social media accounts?
Yeah, so the best thing is to go to our website, www.nourishdoc.com. We are on all social media, and like I said earlier, the app is going to be out in the month of June, somewhere around June timeframe, between May and June. And so check us out on the website, and then submit a form, and we will inform people when the app is out.
And Amita, one more thing. Is there anything you'd like to discuss that we have not covered?
No, I just want people to not feel isolated when if they're having mental health issues. It's perfectly normal. Our brain is part of our body. Hey, sometimes I have a gas in my tummy, and I don't shy away saying I have gas in my tummy. In the same way, my mental, something's
Yeah.
happening in my brain which is not right, and we should not shy away from having any mental health issues, and just be okay with that. It's another part of our body. Our mind is another part of our body, but feed the right things, a few right kind of fuel to your mind and to your body. That's what I want to end up with, is that nourish your mind, body, and soul. That's very important.
I 100% agree. Well, Amita, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And thank you all to listening. The best thing you could do for us right now is follow us on all of our social media accounts at Overcome Pod for Instagram and YouTube. Share our stuff, like it, subscribe, do whatever you can to get our name out there. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.